So this is a mimer this is very, very fascinating. It's the last mimer that the Rebbe gave, and it's called the Ata Tetzava. It's called the Ata Tetzava. Maybe we should shut the door. So, yeah. Now, the story with this mimer is that it speaks about the beginning pasuk of the Parsha Ata Tetzava. It says as follows: "Ata Tetzava b'nei Yisrael, you should command the Jewish people. V'yichu elecha, they should bring to you shemen zayasach, pure olive oil, kosis, crushed, lama'or, for light." Now, the mimer is very detailed. It goes into every nuance of every letter and everything. But basically, I'm just going to bring out one very fundamental point. Why did God say that the Jewish people should bring to Moshe Rabbeinu light, olive oil? He didn't say light, la'ar, he said la'ma'ar. La'ma'ar is for the source of light. Yeah, right.
Lighten up, right?
La'ma'ar is more than that. La'ma'ar is, it's like to be the source of light.
Yeah.
Okay? Laha'ir would be to lighten up, but Lama'ar would be... Yeah. So now, so the story is that there is within us, kind of like I was saying before, there is the source. Everywhere is the source. Hashem exists. So one of the big challenges of life, if not the challenge of life, is that everything exists in two dimensions. There's an inner dimension and an outer dimension. So if I look at you, for example, if I just randomly saw you, I don't know you. If I spend time with you, we get together. So then I begin to know you. Who are you? What do you like? Etc., etc., etc. So within myself as well, there's two parts to me. There's a part that I think that I know. Then there's a part that I don't know. So the part that I know is a conscious part. I've been hanging out with myself for many years. So I kind of know myself. But I only know one part of myself. There's a deeper part of myself, which is Hashem, which I don't know. And perhaps is unknowable. So the goal now is to reveal that. Now we know that revelation and that part is real, right? How do we know that it's real? So it says in chapter 19 of Tanya that this part in ourselves that has this unconditional love for Hashem can be awakened. You can't awaken something. If somebody's sleeping and you wake him up, he was there, he was just sleeping. But if somebody's not there, you can't wake him up. So if you can wake something up, it means it's there. So what wakes up the neshama? And we're seeing it right now.
Sometimes it's not easy. Okay.
We're seeing it right now, that there was a terrible attack against the Jewish people. And suddenly the whole Jewish world, including secular Jews who were claiming, a week before they were trying to shut down a Yom Kippur minyan, now they're lining up to put on tefillin. So what's going on? How does a Jew shift from being, I'm not interested, to I'm ready to give my life? And this happened not once, but it happened thousands of times. In the Holocaust, secular people, I'm a Jew, this is who I am. Often people could have converted out. Even the Purim story, the decree was only on the Jew. Had they converted out, they would have been saved. Yet, no Jew even thought of converting out. So when it becomes pressurized, then that soul wakes up, because the soul's not ready to separate itself from Hashem. It's just that right now, it's not the primary part. When push comes to shove. Exactly. So the question is, what do you do in good times? This is a very interesting question. My grandfather was a rabbi in Russia, and there he was communism. Literally, his father was murdered. His mother died in prison for her activities. His father-in-law was murdered. Sometimes he told me he went outside and he had to wrap up his whole face like he had. This was in Russia. All of Russia was like that. So basically they decided they were enemies of religion and Jewish people. And so, to make a long story short, it was a very challenging time. And yet he said it was easier to be a Jew in Russia than it was in America. Because when you don't have a challenge, you have to challenge yourself. And this is the key to life itself. Because if we are awake because someone woke us up, doesn't mean that we're really awake. This rabbi once said, are you alive because a bus didn't hit you?
I woke up by myself this morning.
Good for you. Or are you alive because you chose to live? It's a very big difference. So the whole idea is that we have to choose to wake up our neshama. Now this neshama within us basically is a spark, a soul, a part of God. And what it wants is God. That its desire is Hashem. So how do we wake it up? So the thing is that we have to tell ourselves that that soon Mashiach is going to come. When Mashiach is going to come, we're going to see Hashem literally eye to eye. Everywhere you're going to see Hashem. So this inspires us that, wow, that's something that I desire. So right now, maybe I'm content. Or maybe I'm content pursuing, this degree or maybe this desire or that. But when I know that my whole life is going to be so enhanced by the ability to see Hashem. So even if you're spiritual now, you're not seeing Hashem. And certainly even if you're seeing something, it's not like the whole world, because when godliness comes to the whole world, it will be on a level that everybody sees, will be so great. We know that even Moses goes every hour higher in heaven, and he learns deeper reasons for the mitzvahs. So Moses was no slack. When he passed away, he reached the 50th gate of understanding, a very high level, and yet he's going in 3,300 years deeper and deeper and deeper, learning deeper reasons for mitzvahs. And yet he too is going to be resurrected, because the level of godliness that's going to come when Mashiach is here is even greater than what the greatest tzaddikim have, because that's all in the realm of what we call Mamali Kol Almim, and say the Ishtalshlus, the chain of descent. I'm sure you've heard of the chain of descent. You have how the four worlds go: Atzilus, Bria, Yetzirah, Asiya. Are you familiar with that?
Heard it.
Okay, so effectively, in the beginning, Kabbalah teaches us there is only God, right? And how do you get from, let's call it infinite light, to finite light, right? Whenever you have to make a gap between infinite and finite, it's an infinite gap. And how do you make an infinite gap? So what Hashem did is that He created, good morning, He created what's called a chalol umakom panoi, empty space. Imagine like a universe, it's a time space, like a bubble. He created a bubble. And in that bubble, the infinite light doesn't shine. He hid, it's called a tzimtzum, He hid the infinite light. So now within that bubble, you can have a new reality. Now, what is a reality? It's a time, space, soul dimension. I don't know if you know, but one of the earliest Kabbalists was Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu was a great mind. He's a researcher, and he wrote a book on Kabbalah. It's called Sefer Yetzirah. We have the book, it's 32 small paragraphs, absolutely brilliant. All of Kabbalah is based on Avraham Avinu. And in Sefer Yetzirah itself is based on this concept of Olam Shana Nefesh, time, space, soul. So time, space is where a world is, and soul are the individuals that are interacting with that world. We feel, we perceive, etc., etc. Now, the story is that there are 4 universes. The highest universe is the world of Atzilus, and in that world, it comes from the word Atzilus, which means Etzloi v'Sama. It's close to Hashem. So the reality of that world is the true reality, that really our world isn't really real. Hashem is real. He's made us in a bubble. Then as you start to go down universes, the universe seems to get more and more real. Imagine you're in literally a bubble, but the bubble is clear. So you see through the bubble, it's a bubble. But then you go into another bubble. It's a little bit shady. So it's a bubble, but a little bit shade. And then another one, until the last bubble, that you don't even see that it's a bubble. You see the whole thing, this is reality, and what's outside of it you hear about. Oh, I heard that this bubble is really being created by God. So we go through these universes, and this way Hashem creates that we can be independent, because that's ultimately what He wants. He wants us to be independent people. And so here we are as independent people, and now the goal is to awaken our neshama. But the neshama began in this, basically as part of Hashem. So it knows the truth. But right now I may be comfortable, so it's not what I'm seeking. Right? To find the truth, you have to be looking for it. The Frierdiker Rebbe says the truth comes to those who seek it. Right? A person's not interested in truth. You could even hear about it. It just doesn't matter to him. Or if I told you right now, I don't know, would you like to buy a house in China? No, I'm not interested. The nicest house in the world. I'm not interested. Right? Somebody else in China. Oh, wow, that's the greatest thing in the world. He wants the nicest house in China. One person's interested, one person's not interested. So, in summary, our goal in life is to be able to light our neshama up. And that our neshama should become the dominant force. How do we do this? We do this, first of all, like we said in the Tanya of today, through davening. We take the experience of davening and we literally engage in those words and those concepts. We think about the greatness of Hashem that lights our soul, and then we have energy for the day, a fire for the day. We lit ourselves up. And the other is this meditation that, bottom line is that right now you're not seeing Hashem everywhere. Moshe Rabbeinu went so high in heaven, but when Mashiach comes, it's a new level, the essence of God gets revealed. And in the essence of God, all are equal. You could be Moshe Rabbeinu, you could be a rock, you could be me, and we're all equal. Because compared to absolute infinity, unlimitedness, no matter how much someone knows, it's like the richest guy in the world, let's say he's worth 200 billion, but compared to infinity, him and one is the same number. It's nothing. Because infinity is an infinite gap between the finite and the infinite. So when Mashiach comes, the infinity of Hashem comes into this world, and we want to experience that infinity, and so therefore we have this desire to have Mashiach. And this desire, this kusus, this crushing, because when a person feels comfortable, that's why it says that in the physical realm, if you have your needs and you feel comfortable, it's very good. Because if you say, no, I need more, you'll never be happy. Who is wealthy, whoever is happy with what they have. But in the spiritual realm, it's the opposite. Because if you're comfortable, you're not going to strive. You're not going to go forward. So we want to be spiritually uncomfortable. We want to feel that there's much more to what's going to come than what we have. And when we realize that whatever we have, everything we have, it says the Torah of today is like nothing compared to the Torah of the future. Our whole Torah and everything that we have, because when Mashiach comes, you're visually going to see everything. They say, why do we have to study Chassidus now? In any event, Mashiach's going to come, everybody will see it. They'll say, the people that study Chassidus will say, aha, that's what we were learning about. So the point is that Mashiach is about to come, and we're going to have everything on a visual way. The experience of Hashem, everything's going to be on the highest visual experience. There's a guy, I did a video of him, tremendous thing. If you go to JewsOnFire.org, JewsOnFire.org. So this guy's near-death experience. Huh?
Well, I've heard about some of these kinds of things.
Yeah, amazing. And this guy had like an experience, and like Hashem spoke to him, and he said that what? The bottom line is that what happened is that he said, like, all this information was coming in from all senses. It was like the information that he was getting was like from sound, from sight, from smell, from touch. It was like everything, colors. It was like the information was like it was like all senses were giving him the same information. That's what Matan Torah, we literally saw sounds, because sounds themselves, it's interesting, I don't know if you know this, but you take the word like peh, and you put it from the audio frequency to the visual frequency, it makes the letter peh. So these...
The audio to the visual.
Yeah, it's all electromagnetic spectrum. So if you take the actual spectrum from the audio to the visual, it will form the letter. It will be right. So it's amazing because the Hebrew letters actually have the shapes in the different spectrum, in the visual spectrum. Yeah, you can see it. You can see it. Zamir Cohn put out a book. Yeah. So the bottom line is that Hashem is everywhere, and we need to see this, and that's going to happen when Mashiach comes. And therefore, we can now be in a state that we're somewhat anxious for Mashiach, that we're not spiritually comfortable. We wake ourselves up, and this is the Maimah. L'chaim v'levracha.